Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, wherever you are. It's morning now. This is Monad in the morning from, I think, a new location, a top secret, undisclosed location, for me at least. Here I am, all alone on the big screen. Jessup's in the background. Jessup, how's it going?
What's up, everybody? You can hear my voice. I could pull myself up here too.
We're gonna have some fun today. This is I would call this season 1.999 repeating. We we're going to be back this week with season 2. Some really unprecedented logistical challenges pushing that to next week. However, Jessup is actually in the new studio. We've got 3 minutes until Meme Talk comes on. Jessup, I'll defer to you. How much of an alpha leak do we want to give the chat today on
I
the new
I mean,
studio? I
yeah, so as you can see, there's a different color already. That's gonna be kind of the as much as we can give, but normally what's in front of me is what you guys normally see. And then but yeah, the whole room has been painted and there's been quite a bit of renovating that's gone on. So the entire new set is going to look very different.
I am
It's exciting.
super pumped. So effectively, you know, if you're here on Mon Out in the morning watching the full stream, you're a super fan, you're an OG, and you probably know what the set looks like. And the lore here is basically that we came into this office space a year ago, a little over a year ago, and there was this great room for content, and we built it out. Like the bar already existed, the counter, all that stuff. Brought in some equipment so that we could light the room, so that we could film in the room, so that Jessup could live produce. But we didn't actually do anything to the room itself. Now we've gone and done an overhaul for season 2 of Mon Out in the Morning, and so it's going to be super crisp. We'll have a grand reveal next week. Super pumped for it. We can probably chat on it a little bit later in the stream, but for now, I think we have our first caller of the day. Is that correct, Jessup?
We do. Um, Let me
Love it.
cue this up here.
Awesome. For anybody who has missed some of the activity on Twitter, we are going to be joined by Meme Talk today. Meme Talk is a trading and social app. It is live on Mainnet, and it is very much so focused on content as well. So super excited to unpack all things Meme Talk. Welcome to the show. Thanks for joining. Love the hat, by the way.
Yeah, it's Monad coded. How are you guys doing? Yeah, thanks, man. Happy to be here. My name is Carlos. I'm one of the co-founders of Meme Talk, and we're here. Wanted to congratulate. I mean, I thought we were gonna start season 2, so I was ready to congratulate you on that. But maybe it's season 2 beta, right? We're testing it out, right?
Season 2 beta. Yeah. We're
Yeah.
we're season 1.999 repeating here. We were expecting to do season 2 today. My co-host is at urgent care right now getting his arm checked out. I'm not exactly sure what happened there, but bunch of random logistical stuff popped up this week. So season 2 technically next week, but for all intents and purposes, we've got the content here, and super excited to learn a bit more about you, Carlos, as well as Meme Talk and some of the ideas behind it, as well as what you're hoping to accomplish with the app in 2026 and beyond. Maybe a good starting point would be your background, the team's background, and maybe even a little overview of what Meme Talk is as well, in case anyone is following along but not yet aware.
Yeah, so I mean, I'll start with like the quick like intro to Meme Talk. And we like to say it's the world's first scroll trading platform, right? So it's a mobile app with a TikTok-like UX where users can scroll through content, right? And they use the feed as a discovery mechanism, right? And there's a bunch of reasons why we think that's the optimal design. So they're able to use the feed as a discovery mechanism. People tag coins on their post, right? So you can post a meme, maybe have some opinions, share some insights, and you get to tag a coin. And then people, as they're consuming, they're like discovering what's going on, like they're getting a sense for what the market is seeing, what people are talking about, and they're able to execute directly on the app. So we basically grab, if you guys are familiar, like the audience is familiar with TikTok Shop. At a high level, what we did is we grabbed TikTok Shop and made it for meme coins. Um, so that's basically what Meme Talk is. In terms of the team, we're a team of two co-founders. We've been in crypto about 10 years and 8 years. My co-founder, we've been working together for the last 5 years, building consumer products. Like because like look, here's the thing. We really like crypto. We know DeFi is potentially the future of finance, right? But we've been working on the consumer end because the UX wasn't optimal, right? Especially back then when we started. So the things that we focus on is like, right, how can we bring these primitives and bring it to people's hands in a way that makes sense? I don't know if you ever try to onboard someone around 5 years ago, imagine like trying to get your mom to trade on Uniswap, right? It's like, all right, mom, go to Binance, KYC, deposit some money, buy a cryptocurrency. Make sure like you buy Ethereum and also USDC so that you can pay for the gas, transfer it to MetaMask, then go to Uniswap. Then make sure it says uniswap.org and you're not in some random site, right? So you don't get siphoned away. Don't share your keys with anybody, etc. Right? So we've always focused on making it like for consumers. So maybe we don't spend too much time there because the story is kind of long. If anybody's interested, we have like an article like going through like a whole like life what we've done up until now. It's on my ex at Simco Carlos. But we saw, look, man, we need to simplify DeFi. So that's where we got started. We used to do a lot of our first project that we worked together was this like yield aggregator with an off-chain component that basically scanned all the available yield opportunities on chain and would make decisions to like determine how to rebalance the different vaults that we were making available for users, right? That was pretty complex, pretty cool stuff. But at that time, I think it was like right around the FTX collapse. So the market was not in good sentiment. And we had to shut it down. But anyways, we still had built all this like data, like this data analysis layer, right? Like data pipelines, different algorithms for analyzing what's going on. And we had a pretty good feel of what was going on chain. And we started using that ourselves to become like on-chain traders, right? So we had a little on-chain trading fund, my co-founder and I, which turned out like around that time was when Pepe came along. So we actually turned into like a meme coin trading fund. So we were trading meme coins for a while, but we're doing it like in a systematic, algorithmic way. And then we switched. So then we're like, dude, we still want to build something for like users, right? Like for consumers. We want to like give something to people. And at that time, there was like this big boom of Telegram trading bots. I don't know if you were around or you remember, but there was like Maestro and there was Banana Gun, right? And Maestro was like the first one to do it. And it showed everybody it showed a lot of like builders that users, what they want is the convenience of having the ability to execute and trade on chain from their phone. And they don't really care about like at a certain like amount of money that they deposit into these bots, they don't really care about like the private, like holding their private keys and stuff. They just wanted the convenience. And so we're like, look, let's build something like this, but let's take another angle where we take more of like a data analysis type. Let's go with what our edge is, right? And we're gonna share with our users like the data analysis side of things. And so there was Maestro was the first one. Banana Gun was able to establish like a pretty strong hold on it because they had the sniping bundling like mechanism that was really strong, which is also it has a strong power law. Yeah, and maybe this is a lot of details, but the whole thing is like, all right, we're gonna bring data to our users so they can like trade off these Telegram bots. That went good. We had a couple users. We launched a coin, and it went well. But then Launchpad started coming in and started becoming like a real mess, right? Because back then, like when meme coins were launched, they were usually done by like more serious devs, if you can make it that way, because they had to take care of adding liquidity, promoting the coin, having like marketing wallets, etc. But then Launchpad removed all of this, and it became a harder game to play in a sense. Even though they simplified the process of launching a coin, it became a harder game to play because now there was just like too much fragmentation of both attention and liquidity. And we're out there like scanning chains, and like we're like we have these systems in the background scanning chains, trying to figure out to talk, like letting our users know where the best opportunities are to these bots. And we started noticing that the signal like stopped being on chain, right? Like there was no way. Like you could read transactions, you could read volume, you could read the amount of wallets, but turns out that that's not what dictates whether a coin is going to go up or not, if it's going to move, etc. And what started happening is we started seeing that it was a social aspect of things that was actually making these coins move. So at that time, it was before like Elon bought Twitter, so the API was still pretty accessible. It was kind of cheap, and they had to make all those changes. And we're like, all right, cool. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna start looking at social data and share with our users. And we had scrapers for Telegram communities, right? Because back then it was just like for every meme coin there would be a Telegram community. And we started looking at things like, all right, are people talking about it on X? Are people sharing this coin, and how active is the Telegram community? And those were like the indicators of whether a coin was going to move or not. So we're like, man, yeah, so it's social. So all of this is like, so it's social. But then at that time, like the market once again hit another like low. The edge started moving away, and we also shut down that project, right? So then we're like, all right, cool. We have all these learnings, we have all this information. Like, what's the next step? And we took a little bit of a step back. My co-founder went into like the AI world. I went more into like the Web2 world to figure out what's going on. And we started seeing this trend with the TikTok shop and like social shopping, right? Like if anybody's familiar with Gary Vee, he's all over the place. Like, oh, social shopping is the next thing. If you guys are not in China, everybody buys stuff online or whatever. So like, yeah, you seen him, right? You seen him.
Oh yeah, for sure. Oh, 100%. It honestly reminds me of like, you know, I can't fault the guy. He's right. He's been right about a lot of these trends. And, you know, he kind of did this same thing with NFTs. And that was actually what put me onto crypto. You know, I had heard of Bitcoin and Ethereum, but it didn't really make a lot of sense to me. I wasn't like, you know, entrenched in finance, and, you know, I wasn't really like one of the target beneficiaries of like what crypto offered in terms of like payments or access to the US dollar and things like that, being, you know, luckily in the US. But seeing Gary Vee at like the end of 2020 on like Instagram, and him just being like, if you haven't looked at NFTs, like this is going to be, you know, the biggest miss for you. And so I remember like bookmarking this stuff and being a little lazy, not like getting right on the NFT train. But then you know, Bored Apes in like mid 21 were like creeping towards 1 ETH, and like more and more people were getting involved. Gary Vee kind of pilled some of the celebrities on like Clubhouse and stuff like that. And I was like, okay, I have to pay attention to this crypto stuff. And so I wasn't really early by any means like you were, but I don't know, this it's hard to fade the live shopping narrative that he's calling. He's clearly picking up on like legitimate activity in Asia. And you know, a lot of these things tend to play out where Asia tends to be like 5 years ahead of the Western world, especially China. So I'm interested to see like, you know, how this plays out, but I think the thesis is pretty strong, to be honest.
Dude, it is because like what we were seeing, it is because think about this. Today we have streaming platforms, right? So you're basically paying to like not see ads, right? And if you're big into YouTube, you're like, I mean, I haven't paid it because I'm a bit cheap on that front for YouTube Premium, but I'm about to pay it, bro, because I'm tired of the ads. But so you're paying not to watch ads, right? You're paying not to watch ads anymore. So then the discovery layer for anything becomes social. So what you do is you go on your TikTok feed or your Instagram feed or X, and like, oh my God, what are people like? Oh, I like this hat. People are wearing these hats. Or look, LeBron just posted about his new shoes. So social is now becoming the discovery layer, which is part of like what we're tying into our app. Because, so yeah, if you listen to Gary Vee, like you're like just jump on Meme Talk. He's probably gonna start talking about it in a few months. So what we did is we're trying to tie that narrative into meme coin trading, and because like for multiple reasons. One is that like social is the signal, That's the thing, right? Especially with low liquidity assets, right? Like we think, like if you think about what's going to happen in the next 10 years, most likely you're going to have two like asset classes are going to fall into two groups, like the high liquidity ones, and those are most likely just going to be traded by big funds with algorithmic trading systems and machine learning and AI and all that stuff, right? And it's going to be very efficient, and they're going to be listening to like live data, and they're potentially going to be hedging on polymarket and all that stuff, right? But then on the other end, you have the low liquidity assets where like the actual humans have an edge, right? And those assets are moved even more so by the like the social layer of it, right? Like for example, how do you explain to like ChatGPT what 6-7 is, right? Like, oh, what's 6-7? I don't fucking know what 6-7 is, right? But I know it's gonna take off. I'm gonna trade that shit, right? So social is a thing. So that's one. The other one is that, for example, like we think this mechanism of like social helps with the fragmentation, right? So everybody's talking about like, oh, meme coins are dead, etc. Like launch pads, like they weren't a good thing for crypto, etc. But the truth is that before you used to have sort of like the developers that needed to launch these that would launch these coins. They were like the gatekeepers of this, and because of that they were the like they were like the aggregators of the information, like not the aggregators. They were the ones that would like bring the information forward, right? So they would have to move fast. So for example, if a new trend popped up, you had to have a good dev that had everything set up so that he could launch a coin for it. But when the launchpad started gaining traction, this became a very simple thing. We just fill out a form. But then what happens now? You have a bunch of coins that are trying to they're trying to like take advantage of a specific trend, right? So what you have to do is add another, like you have to at another layer. You have to add like an aggregation, like a way to aggregate this that's still permissionless, but that brings in like the social signal, right? So, and maybe I went a little too abstract here, but the point is that look, a good example, right? Is you have the X402 meta, X402 meta around four months ago, right? And if you were keeping an eye on it, you saw that there was like 100 to 1,000 coins launched with the same symbol X402, right? Now, everybody that was trading this is aware that these have zero utility. What they want to do is they want to trade this trend, this attention that X402 is bringing. Now the problem is when you hop into one of these apps to trade that coin, you're showing a multiple of different ones. So you're figuring out like which one is the right one. When somebody's talking about it on X, you're trying to figure out what's the contract address. You just said you bought this coin. Which one is it, right? And then you have this fragmentation that leads to like these coins having very short lifespans, and a lot of people, because of the incentives behind how the creator fees work at the launchpad level, it creators are actually incentivized to launch more of these coins to try to pick some small fish and just like rug them. Plus, you have like these bots that generate volume, so there's no way to really know. So we think our thesis is that the solution is you add a social layer on top, right? Like the same way you think about like the TikTok algorithm, where like you're able to like hop on TikTok and figure out what's going on globally, what's going on with your interests. Like it starts to know you, but at the same time, it gives you an insight into the rest of the world. We think that's the right way to do it. And the way you accomplish that is that the creators, the actual like developers of the coins, the creators of the coins, they don't have any like representation inside our system in our app, because what really brings it up is what really brings these coins rise above the noise is the people that are creating content around it. So yeah, that's like sort of like the gist of like why we're building this and why we're taking this angle. Um, yeah, so I don't know if you have any questions, or like I can keep going down this rabbit hole.
Yeah, I mean, like, I kind of want to chat about like where you think meme coins go from here, because I think it's like, it's very interesting. You mentioned Pepe, for example, and my experience with Pepe was like, you know, I guess that was probably like spring of 2023. Is that correct?
Yeah, maybe I can't remember either, but it's around like
Yeah,
April, May or something.
yeah. I mean, like these tokens existed. Like the concept of meme coins, like had been out kind of for a while, but it hadn't had its like time in the sun like NFTs did in 2021. And so for me, I was like, oh, this is interesting. Like this Pepe coin launched on ETH, but we've seen how many hundreds, if not thousands, of iterations of Pepe NFTs. So I like super faded it. I was like, I don't know, what this is all about. Like, I effectively mid curved it because I was like, there's been all these Pepe NFTs. Like, why would the meme coin be compelling? And that ultimately was the thing that kind of kicked off the whole meme coin meta. So big L on my part, just like totally missed that narrative. But what you're talking about more broadly goes beyond meme coins, I think. And it's just this idea that people are now discovering the assets that they want to invest in primarily via social media. And there's a lot of movement away from this like passive model of like, let me just, park a portion of my paycheck in a 401k or in a bunch of long-term assets. Like, let me just offload this to my Fidelity portfolio, for example, and just let it ride for like 40, 50 years. And then, hopefully I'll be able to retire and, have some good savings and have some good compound interest built up. And like, I think the doomerism of where we're at today with internet culture has totally shifted the average consumer's mindset, whether they're participating in crypto or whether they're not yet really involved in crypto. And I think that's kind of the interesting thing here because you now have, like we're saying, social discovery of the assets that people want to invest in, whether it's stocks or equities more broadly or something like meme coins. And so that's what I'm interested for your take on. Like, how does Meme Talk think and how do you think about the future of like social discovery for assets and what this is going to look like in the coming years?
All right. So how I think it looks like, the answer is short. It's gonna look like meme talk, but no, but like to answer, like because look, like I mean, but I'll double click on that because we've been like one of the things throughout this development and like launching this project is like to us it seems so obvious, and I think it's because it's kind of like the culmination of like us seeing a lot of stuff and taking a lot of like failures and learning from them. But look, we think like we think that this is what the future of trading is going to look like. Right now, you need execution on the platform, etc. Now, when it comes to like, so we think like the actual interface is probably going to look like this, and if anything, just some slight tweaks around it. Now, when it comes to like the 401k stuff, the future of meme coins, like there's a lot to unpack there, right? So, for example, I think meme coins, even though they had been out there before NFTs, they were sort of like the next iteration of NFTs, right? Because NFTs were able to give you a sense of community, but you were still like you were still an individual within that community, right? And there was like, and not also that it wasn't very optimal with terms of like the liquidity, right? Like because they're not obviously they're not fungible, so like they have different prices. So I think meme coins kind of did this thing where like they brought the bribe back, like the like you're part of a tribe once again, right? So it's like, hey, what's up, guys? You own Pepe? I own Pepe too. How many do you hold? Oh, I hold this much. So even like a little guy was able to participate, and like it was more of a community thing. So I think that's kind of like what was going on there. Now, where I see with the whole like 401k and stuff, I think it's a bit like the thing is yes that it's kind of doomed, but I don't think it's I think it's like we're just living in like the world is just way better than what it was in the past. And I think what's going to happen, I was actually talking with my co-founder about this last night, is that things are just going to get better and better. We're going to have more access to resources like shelter, food, electricity, connection, etc. Right? But the gap between the sort of like the middle and the people at the top it started to widen, right? And if things keep progressing the way they are, we're just going to have something like universal basic income for everybody, right? But that's probably not going to look that bad. We'll have like food and stuff and whatever. So then it starts making like I think what's happening is that the people that are like between the ages of 20 and 35 don't want to invest long term because it doesn't make any sense, to be honest. Like things actually look like they're gonna get better, right? I mean, other than like potentially World War III starting anytime soon, right? Things are gonna get better. So a lot of things are gonna be covered. So then what we think is going to happen is if you have all your like if you have all your resources covered, then what you're probably gonna start doing is you're gonna start like gambling or like making bets on like outcomes in order to generate like a big move up, right? So for example, I don't know, to give you an idea, let's say I don't know, you worked whatever, you're able to pay all your bills, cool, and then you have $100 left, right? Like that's those $100 are not gonna like those $100 by themselves are not gonna get you to like that next thing that you're aiming for. So what you have to do is just like gamble it or invest on or go into something that where you can actually like the potential for you to earn is going to be like a multiplier like 100x, right? So that's what's going to happen. That's what we're seeing like in the US. I know like a lot of people are gambling. You have the NBA like with DraftKings and all that stuff going on. It's starting to become a thing now where meme coins. So I think that's like the shift now. Like you don't have to worry so much about the future because the future in like even while you stay with like if you keep a like the future is optimistic. It's just that it's just a little boring. That's the truth, right? It is boring. So what you're going to start doing is whatever like I think what people are going to start doing is just going to take big bets. And most likely these are going to look like PvP arenas because it's almost like I remember the guys from that podcast with Avi when he was saying something really cool about meme coins that resonated with me. Was like meme coins are also like the next iteration of lottery, right? Because it's almost like a community lottery. So like people are gonna trade these things and potentially there's like 100 guys trading the same coin and they're all gonna put in $100, but one of them is gonna take away the 100x and the other ones are gonna lose. They're gonna be okay with that because what's not so good, like they're gonna be okay with that because they're just playing this game in order to like go for like the big P&Ls. But the problem with the current why everybody's saying that PvP is not good, it's not because it's a player versus player, because we can all play competitive sports against each other and have fun. The thing is that the landscape is not fair, right? Like it's like you go on Pump Fun, that's not PvP. That's you against some guys with bots that are trying to rug you. Okay. So then the way to outcompete them is sort of like shift the arena around and make it more like a social thing where people actually have an edge. So I think that was. I think I answered. Like I think I answered. Like I think that covers some of your thoughts there. I don't know. What do you think?
I mean, I think the probably the most interesting thread there. I mean, a lot, but the interesting thread is that to me, the statement that the future is boring, and I can definitely get behind that. Like think like 80 years ago, what it was like to just be a human being on earth, right? Like around the time of World War II, the entire economy had just come through the worst time ever, Great Depression. Like people just trying to put food on the table for their families and have their most basic needs met. And so when you're in a condition like that, and then, World War II comes along, like you've had 10 years of effectively just struggling to put food on the table, to get any sort of income to be able to survive and meet your basic needs. World War II comes along, and everyone just gets drafted into service, into effectively not even doing like a tour overseas, but you're getting drafted. You have no choice. You're going to war, and you're staying in Europe or the Pacific if you're if you're coming from the Allies side. You're staying, thousands of miles away in Europe, the Pacific, wherever you're stationed until the war is over. And then you come back and, there is more prosperity, there is more money flowing around. The war really was a big business and kicked off the economy. And then for a while, people are able to focus on things beyond meeting their most basic needs. And so over the past maybe 60, 70 years, we've had a lot of progression and advancement in technology and opportunity. And now we're at a state where people's basic needs are often effectively met. And that's not true globally. But for your average person, your average investor, their basic needs are met. And so they don't have to worry about these things like shelter and survival and food and where's my next meal going to come from tomorrow morning. And so if we have this widening gap between the top 1% and effectively everyone else, and most average people's needs are met, but there still is effectively zero chance following the traditional path of get a job, save up, invest long term, compound your money, then you have no chance of being at effectively either extreme, because you can't make it. It's really hard to make it and become that top 1%. It is almost impossible. But at the same time, you are not worried about meeting your most basic needs on the bottom level, which means that, neither extreme is likely to happen. And you just kind of sit in this boring middle where you can't level up, but your downside is relatively mitigated, especially if something were to come along like UBS with further advancement of AI. So we do sit at this interesting time, and it is clear, like, past 60, 70 years, like, anytime you walk into a gas station, there's likely someone in there buying scratch tickets. Casinos
Yeah.
are not only an entertainment experience, but they're effectively a dream or a chance to get to that top 1%. And so now we have, like, this gambling meta already existed, but it's being accelerated by AI advancement, technological innovation, and the fact that your downside risk of where does my next meal come from is relatively mitigated. But simultaneously, it is damn near impossible to get to that 1%. So people in the middle, which is a huge range, this middle group is effectively just going to take a bunch of moonshots to try and get to
Yes.
that 1%, because there's effectively no other real alternative in their minds. And the more technology accelerates, the more AI comes in and, offsets some of the current, like, economic, like, opportunity for people, the more this is going to magnify. And so I think, like, it will be interesting over the next 5 years to see how the social trading landscape evolves, what communities congregate around these different assets. It's like a game theory question as well, because game theory is like, okay, if you have like a million people all trying to play this game and there can only be one winner, or a couple winners in that 1%, then it's like, okay, we naturally want to team up and form like groups to try and like get an advantage together to get to that 1%. And that's exactly what social trading is on a community driven element like meme talk. So no real like question or ending, but just kind of what I find quite interesting about the current landscape of online gambling and the convergence with what we would historically call like informed investing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, for sure, man. I mean, you're like, I think we're on the same page in that, because like, I think it's, if you're paying attention, it's kind of, if you're really paying attention, it's kind of obvious. Um, but yeah, that's like one thing that maybe resonate, like maybe that you brought up about like people teaming up. I think, I mean, just to keep shilling my my app, but I think like that's like one thing that we actually worked on, because look, like right before, like we were ideating this and working on this for like the last 9 months, right? And one of the things that came up during that time was the concept of creator coins, right? It was like there was like, we apparently those are not gonna work, right? I mean, Sora like just rug pulled everybody, and they're now like doing their thing on Solana, but I think that's one of the things that we focus on, because like what the way that our, like, look, for example, during our beta period, we invited a group of people, right, to test it out. There was a friend of ours that has like a small Telegram community, and he's like, look, I got some people, why don't you come and do a voice let's do a voice call, you share it with them and let them like try it out. So we went in there, and at that time they were launching their own Terra coin, right? They had this Terra coin. They're like, oh, can we launch it on the app? Like, yeah, of course, guys, go ahead and do it. And what happened, because of the ability that we make it that any creator can post about any coin, and multiple creators can post about the same coin, this whole community was enabled behind one common thing, which was the coin. That also helps with like the aggregation, right? Because they all started posting about the coin. Some of them didn't have capital. I would say that from those 20 users, potentially 3 to 4 of them actually bought the coin, but everybody was talking about it and posting. And then the thing that was that, so like that, what we're building is kind of like enabling that game where like you're strategizing, like, how can we work together as a community to promote a coin? And also you're like, the incentives are lined up so that people can be selfish about it, because if people buy through your, like, for example, one of the things I probably haven't mentioned is when people transact through the post that you like put up, you earn a commission off the trading fees, right? So then these guys were like shilling their own bag, like they're shilling their bags. They were activating these bag workers, which is like another thing that we've like looked at a lot. Like, bag working can be fun again. They were doing that. They were being selfish, but they were working together as a community and consolidating and all, like having a common narrative to like move, right? Which which like previous attempts at doing this social side of things where like the creators have some sort of say and help promote a coin haven't been that good, because well, creator coins are just like you're like the creator is the product, right? So I don't think I Show Speed or like maybe Kai Cenat or Mr. Beast are gonna launch their coin. Like, you know, like that doesn't make any sense. They're already making good money, and then so like they're yeah, it's like an Instagram model almost, because they're like you're trying to do it. Like to us, it didn't make sense. They become the product. Why would you productize yourself in a coin and then you like you depend on your holders? Like your holders are gonna basically shit on you if you're not doing what they want. So so we're like, yeah, creator coins are not probably it, but there's still a social aspect to it. And then I mean, we saw the TikTok shop thing, and it was just very obvious to us. Um, so yeah, I think that's part of like the games that we're seeing actually, because we do have, and we'll talk. I'll share a little bit on that. We have a current. We're part of the Monad Momentum program, and we have this thing called the Scroll Wars, where people were like incentivizing users to take action, etc. And one of the things we're seeing is these guys are like creating groups outside of the app, and they're like talking about it, strategizing how they can work together. Like you buy, like let's buy on our post, let's post about this coin, let's do that. So and yeah, that's all enabled by the way that we've introduced the like the content side of things, right? Where like the content is not like it's like anybody can create content about any coin. That's like the short answer, and multiple people can post about the same coin.
Beautiful, beautiful, love it. Well, I know we're slightly over time here. It's been fantastic having you on. Super pumped to see how the experience on Meme Talk evolves over the coming months. Any kind of final closing thoughts from you?
Yes. So to close, I mean, once again, thank you for having me. But to close it off, man, we're actively working and trying to move the space forward. So if you're a user, if you're this might sound interesting to you, just go to Meme Talk that app and download it and try it out. And if you don't like it, send me a DM and tell me why you didn't like it. If you're another protocol building something, like we think this is going to be the future interface of trading. So if you have a DEX, if you're building prediction markets, which we're looking into potentially integrating in the future, hit us up, right? And we can potentially collab. And we're also at this point raising. My co-founder is actually in New York. So if this sounds interesting to you and you want to chat with us, we can share some of our numbers. Things are looking pretty good. Also shoot us a DM, right? So reach out. That would be like the main thing. Reach out and try the app.
Sweet. Love it. Carlos, thanks for being here. Shout out Meme Talk. Excited to see what you guys cook up this year. It is certainly the time where more and more of finance is converging with social and digital. And so I'm excited. I know you're excited, and wishing you guys a lot of luck going forward.
Thanks, brother. Take care. Bye.
All righty. Jessup, want to hit a quick intermission, and then we can chat about some of the things that are going on. Things are happening, and we've got Tommy from Delphi joining us in 26 minutes, followed by...
He's here now.
Oh, all right. Let's run it. Absolutely love that.
Give me 1 second.
Tommy's our hero today. He was super flexible with the shifting timelines. Thinking of Evan, hoping he's doing all right with this arm in urgent care. Tommy, welcome to Monad in the Morning. A half hour early. Appreciate the flexibility. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me on. Can you hear me okay?
Loud and clear, both audio and visual, which is a great start. It's awesome to have you on here. I think this is certainly a long time coming, but welcome. And in case anyone in the audience is not familiar with you or Delphi, which would be a crazy situation, would love if you could just give us a little intro, little overview of who you are and what you focus on.
Yeah. Thanks for having me on. And sorry to hear about your colleague with the broken arm. It's crazy. It's what a day.
Yeah, we're gonna have to get him on next week and figure out what the story is there. There's got to be something. I don't know what it
Just
is though.
coding, building Monad too hard, right? I mean, that's the feels like it. I mean, yeah, a little bit about us. So I'm one of the co-founders, along with a group of incredible partners that founded Delphi Digital, like one of the biggest research companies in crypto and advisory. And then my day to day is with my partners, Jan and Piers, on the Delphi venture side. So we invest in early stage crypto projects, early stage AI projects, and we've been investing out of the funds for 6 years. And Delphi Research was founded over 8 years ago. So been through a bunch of cycles.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that'll be interesting perspective for the viewers here. It's an interesting time in crypto where a lot of folks who have been around for a while, not feeling the hottest sentiment of all time, but simultaneously there's a lot more capital coming into crypto. There's a lot of big institutional players. Payments and stable coins have really taken off. There's been, tokenization and DATs across the board. And so it is this kind of interesting juxtaposition. I think, if you had rewound 5 years ago and asked the question, if all these conditions were there with, TradFi flows and interest and excitement for blockchain at long last, where would crypto native sentiment be? I think the obvious answer would be all-time highs. Now, in practice, that's not the case. So I'm curious what your thoughts are on the spot that crypto's at right now and, where we're going to trend in 2026.
Yeah, no, it's a great question. I think your framing of the juxtaposition is correct, right? We have everything we could have dreamed of on the like infrastructure side of the market, right? The SEC and CFTC and president tripping over each other to enable crypto, things we'd never dreamed of in the Gary Gensler era. We have Wall Street buying ETFs. We have nations looking at crypto. Um, we have like real legislation with the Genius Act and hopefully Clarity soon. So it seems like all of the foundation seems ridiculously strong on one side. On the other side, it's clearly a bear market in terms of prices and just sentiment right now, right? And I think it's really clear. I think people have just been more interested in AI, which is totally fair. It is interesting and it's exciting, but I don't think that means that crypto is dead just because people are interested in AI. These bear markets come and go. Historically, they're I think more so caused from negative events. Like last one was from FTX's collapse, not so much the pull of AI. Um, but I'm also extremely bullish on the overlap between crypto and AI. I mean, you have me and you like using AI all the time to do research and to make decisions and to build tools. You have founders building projects in crypto faster with these tools. You have the entire realm of crypto agentic payments where our Hermes agents from News Research have wallets and can transact in crypto and do things like that. So I think it's a pretty exciting time. Obviously, sentiment is tough, but it's when you make your best investments during the bear market.
100%. I mean, using AI to the point that we've got injuries now. Our co-host breaking his arm, vibe coding too hard. Probably not the real story, but that's what we're gonna stick with today. And I'm definitely inclined to agree that like almost everything AI is touching right now is seeing massive acceleration, at least in theory, about where this could go over the next couple of years. And I don't think there's any reason why crypto would be any different. One of the hottest areas has been this idea of agentic payments and the fact that, oh, these AI agents can't really spin up a bank account, but it's very easy for them to have a crypto wallet. And there's been some debate around this as well, where I forget who it was, but I think there was an announcement yesterday of maybe a large payments company putting, or enabling agentic access to more traditional banking rails. I'm curious, like maybe zooming in on AI meets crypto for a payments use case. Do you think that's the strongest synergy between AI and crypto in the short term, or where do you think, where do you think the strongest overlap is?
Yeah, I mean that's a good question. I it is really hard to make a definitive statement on it, right? Like on one hand, you have the concept that your OpenClaw agents and robots will never walk into a bank. They'll never be able to do uh, that type of KYC compliance, the legal entities, things like that. Um, and then on the other side, you could argue that these AI models are really smart, and Stripe is not just going to sit down and die, and they'll enable payments for these agents when they want to. So it seems like you can't take a definitive view one way or the other, and it seems like we'll probably have both, right? For agents to do payments. The thing that gets me excited about open source agents using crypto is it's just so easy, right? Like if I could give my OpenClaw or Hermes agent or another agent a wallet, give it some money, and just like natively from Telegram, let it handle DeFi interactions, my bank balances, payments. Like, sure, I could use Stripe and probably will at some point in the future or in addition to this, but it just seems like it's the most seamless and easiest option, like with the least amount of mental gymnastics around making it work. So if they can do like, it's just frictionless. Like give them a wallet, let the bots do whatever they want. Let them pay for compute, let them raise money, let them pay for programmable things over time, or let them send money to my friends for me when I want to catch up in the morning. So I guess we'll see, but I'm pretty bullish on the concept of the agentic economy in crypto.
Yeah, yeah. I actually want to zoom out a little bit on this because Delphi sits in an interesting position where I know you guys look at crypto, you look at AI, you look at robotics, basically all things in emerging deep tech. And so, from a high level perspective, where do you see a lot of this stuff going over the next year or two? Is there any like particular thread that has you super excited, or anything you think is pretty underrated right now?
Yeah, for sure. More so from the crypto side or the AI side. I'm guessing the latter, but I wasn't sure.
Take it whatever direction you want.
That's fair. That's fair. Maybe I'll start on the AI side. I I think it's a hot debate on where you want to place your bets, right? I think there's probably, I mean, off the top of my head, a couple of key buckets. You could invest in public equities, Google, Nvidia, things like that on the big model side. You could invest in public equities around the infra. You could do like energy, things like that. The other bucket would be doing late stage SPVs, being the second or third nested person in an Anthropic SPV or Grok or something like that, or XAI. Third one is you just invest in early stage AI managers, right? Probably hard for a lot of people to access, but that's three. And then four is doing direct AI investments, whether at the early stage or the later stages. I think our view is that the two most interesting areas for us as a fund is to potentially allocate and to allocate to the best AI fund managers we can find. Right? They just have ridiculously strong networks and taste and knowledge that are very enticing, and then potentially work with them to get the most interesting AI direct investments we can too. So we're exciting on that side. But then again, I am bullish on crypto across the board. I generally get way more bullish in bear markets because the tourists are gone and you get to think and you get to really think through what's going on. And I do think AI has pulled some money and energy out of the room, but I don't think the room is gone. I think the foundation's really strong, and I think the people who are still here will make their best investments and do their best research during this little bear market.
Yeah,
But what do you
yeah, for sure.
what do you think? What do you spend your time on?
Well, I spend vast majority of my time focused on Monad and how we can get more Monad awareness, more Monad activity, and more people effectively leveraging blockchain. And I personally have a lot of affinity for this original ethos of crypto, even if it doesn't ultimately play out the way 2014 visionaries or 2012 visionaries might have imagined. But I think, there's just massive, massive potential for the betterment of humanity and the human experience with open source technology and decentralization and permissionlessness and fair and equal access to participate in a system, regardless of where you are in the world or what opportunities you have, how much capital you have at your disposal. And I think we were talking a little bit earlier on the show about kind of the widening of this gap between the top 1% and effectively everything else. But we're kind of sitting in this weird time where a lot of like the basic needs, I don't want to overgeneralize, but a lot of people's basic needs are met, and you're not necessarily, for the most part, wondering like where my next meal is going to come from. But simultaneously, it is so challenging to kind of get into to break into that 1%, and it feels at least more challenging than ever before. And so I think, as we continue tracking in this direction, as AI and robotics really accelerate, it actually is going to become increasingly important to have decentralized permissionless systems that have fair and equal access, that are controlled by the people who are using them, rather than that small isolated subset that 99 point something percent of the population can't break into. But I'm actually curious to kind of double down on the crypto side, decentralization. How valuable do you think that's actually going to be as this technology continues to get adoption from large incumbents in traditional finance, for example?
Yeah, it's a big question, but a good one, right? I mean, maybe just thinking through the extreme scenarios. Um, I do think that permissionless money and innovation will be ever more important in a world of growing centralized models. Um, I mean, using the top frontier labs for your hardest questions. ChatGPT 5.4, Gemini DeepThink, Claude Max, like with Opus 4.6, like using those for your hardest questions, I think will always be a thing. My mental model is like 1 to 10% of inference requests will be to those kind of god tier models. But for the remainder, like the 90% plus, I'm pretty confident that those can be run on open source models, whether it's on your own device, laptop, or phone. They'd have to be really small models because you can't run much off of a laptop right now. But I think for the majority, you can run a lot of your inference requests through them, and I think people want that, right? I know that privacy is at least a feature and a meme to me, but or I think to most people, I think people don't want their deepest, darkest secrets shared with an AI lab for training and for usage and context, right? I mean, a year ago or 2 years ago, nobody would share their Telegram or email, and now people are tripping over themselves to enable every integration they can to an API. But there's ways around this, right? Like you could deploy local models, or you can use I mean, the open source models from China are incredible. Like GLM5 is insane. Quen is incredible. Like these models are, Minimax is phenomenal for tool calling. Like these models are great. And you don't have to send all your data to China. You could use an API and Together AI. They deploy those open source models on US soil, and you route your request directly to them and route back. So there are ways to there are ways, and the reason I say this is the open source ethos of AI, I think, is extremely similar with crypto, right? We want permissionless innovation. We want everybody working on these models, and on the crypto side, we want people building in the open, growing communities, raising money, sharing the incentive, sharing the upside. Like a lot of these merits to me between open source AI and crypto are just so similar. And that's why I think it's easy to get adopted on both.
Yeah, it's an exciting time, regardless of whether you're sitting more on like the optimistic end of the spectrum, or even if you're trapped in kind of the doomer camp. I think it, like, you know, this is the time where things are evolving extremely quickly. And, you know, probably the best reflection of that is this like monitoring the situation meme, which is like very true because things are moving at such a fast pace globally, and information access is so instant. And Tuesday doesn't look like Monday, doesn't look like the Sunday before. Like every day there's literally something brand new. And so, it is an exciting time to be alive, I think. And, why not at the end of the day be optimistic and, kind of say, hey, we've encountered weird, novel, challenging, potentially threatening situations in the past as a human race, and we've overcome it for the betterment of most individuals and society as a whole. And, why would we not believe that there's at least an opportunity to run that back with the current technology? And so, I mean, that's my
No,
camp. It's
you're
like there's
that's it. You're right. Like that's it, right? Like it is crazy. Like just take a second and like think it over. But we got open source models from China, right? Not from the US, right? Like Meta was phenomenal, like with Llama, but they haven't released a model in forever. Um, so yeah, it's just crazy. Like if you think through where, like we all hope that OpenAI, Anthropic, Gemini are not using our data in the wrong way, right? And there are so many negative like permutations of this, right? Like one example, um, let's say your OpenClaw agent is routing to ChatGPT, right? And all of your apps are built on top of that, your integrations and things like that. When you go for a date, maybe it'll send you the wrong person it thinks you should meet. Or maybe if you want to get a coffee, maybe it'll send you only the reviews for the place that they're promoting. Or maybe if you want to get health insurance, it'll only send you a specific one. Like there, it's invisible direction and manipulation of your life is the thing you want to avoid. And I think with open source models, you can do that. And now on the crypto side, uh, when you marry the two, you want to make sure that everything you're doing is transparent and open source, right? You want to know where your money is flowing, like where your agent is allocating to get yield, the builders you're backing and why. So, yeah, I'm dancing around a little bit, but I really think the open source and crypto side are a match made in heaven. But I mean, maybe throwing a question your way, I'd love to hear like what the most exciting opportunities are on the AI side for Monad, like builders you're seeing or capabilities of the chain to enable the stuff. Like, we'd love to hear from your side.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a bunch there, but probably the most impactful thing overall, I think, is the time to execution that is enabled by AI. And the fact that you can have somebody who's effectively non-technical come up with an idea to solve a problem or introduce a solution that hopefully improves people's lives, ship an MVP in like 24 or 48 hours, have all the infrastructure you need to get that live, put it in front of users. And so it effectively just accelerates massively this cycle of what you can build and who can build it. And tracking on your previous point, like if open source matters, if decentralization matters, and obviously performance matters, like that's not even a question. So like if those three things are ultimately true, then I think, obviously biased, but my thesis would be that like Monad is the best positioned environment to take advantage of high performance blockchain meets AI and some of this kind of peripheral innovation that's gone on. And we're seeing that already over the past couple months. I think, Christmas was really the time where this stuff came into the limelight and captured a ton of attention. And so for our team, we're at Monad Foundation, we're just trying to move as quickly as we possibly can to support the people that are at the cutting edge of innovation and really thinking proactively about putting stuff in motion. And so like recent example of that would be this multiverse hackathon that the foundation team really quickly coordinated and spun up. We had this idea floated from Jing on the AI team on a Saturday afternoon saying, like, hey, we should get a hackathon in motion for Monad meets AI agents. And by Monday, we had the announcement out. There were a ton of people applying and hacking and building. And that type of experience overall was just not possible a year ago. And so that's super, super exciting to me. And I think, ultimately it is highly unpredictable what even the rest of 2026 is going to look like. And so the one input that you can actually control as a builder or even like a foundation like Monad is the velocity of execution. And the more quickly that we can move to support builders and meet them where they're at, I think pairs very well with this ability for builders to actually move really quickly as well. And so looking at the crypto landscape right now, I think there's obviously a number of different chains and environments. There's been this kind of consolidation of like infrastructure where now it is super easy to kind of build on most chains out there. And so what is going to set an environment apart from all of the others? Well, it's certainly, my opinion is like the performance decentralization aspect really, really matters, but also like the velocity of execution and how quickly we can move to support the next big thing.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm an angel in Monad. Like, I love the thesis on the infra side. Like, I love the technology. He's came on our podcast a while back too, and it was a great one. I'm sort of with you on like execution being the only moat, especially on the software side. Um, it's just like my North Star is if your product or project isn't getting better from increasing capabilities of the frontier models or frontier open source models, you're going to be out of business, right? So if they can build on Monad with increasing capabilities of those models and it's synergistic, I think that you have a really good situation. And to your other point, like we don't exactly know where the innovation will come from, right? Like OpenClaw was built by a guy that was not at a centralized lab. Like Hermes agent by Noose is trending on GitHub right now. Technium literally does not sleep. And it's making waves around the world, again, from an open source lab, like open source Chinese labs, again, doing this at the model layer. So it's hard. Like, I think you want to give funding, credits, etc., to as many people as possible. Um, but it is difficult to surface the best builders, but it will be very different from how it was in the past. And I think taking this community type approach like Nitro does could be pretty solid to get there.
Yeah, definitely. I know we're coming up on the half hour here, and you've already moved your schedule around to accommodate us here, which is greatly appreciated. But I want to toss out one final question if you do have time for it.
Yeah, please.
Broad, little broad and abstract, but I would say, imagine you're 18 years old right now, and you're going to graduate from high school in 2 months. What would you do?
It's I personally think my college experience learning wise was a complete waste of time, right? Unless you're being a doctor or a lawyer or something like that. The part where I think it's valuable is not on the IQ side, but the EQ side, right? Like maturing, dealing with people, making friends, like that is really hard to replicate if you don't go. So I think we need a on the actual building side. I mean, I would do whatever you can to you know, buy hardware to deploy some open source models and try and get enough money as you can to buy like a pro level AI on the centralized side, like a ChatGPT 5.4, Opus 4.6, what have you. Gemini DeepThink is one of my favorites, and just go and build. because the world is changing a lot, and I don't think spending $100,000 on a degree, being 400 grand in debt by the time you get out, makes sense to then just do all the steps I'm talking about now after the fact. So, yeah, I'm not a huge college bull, but I know why people like it.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I mean, it does kind of force the social side. Like, you're 18 years old and you kind of move away from home potentially for the first time, and you're crammed in a room with 3 or 4 other people. Like, you have to interact, and so
Yeah,
there
exactly.
certainly is that value there that you're kind of forced into. But I think that can be replicated in probably more cost-effective ways at the end of the day. And ultimately, the thing that matters is, like we're saying, what did you ship? It's all execution. It's all about getting exposure to these models and these new tools so that you can position yourself as best as possible for this wildly unpredictable but hopefully exciting future.
For sure. I'm with you. I totally agree.
Awesome. Well, Tommy, really appreciate you coming on the show today. This was
Yeah.
a ton of
Thank
fun
you
to
for having
chat
me.
on, and we'll
Happy
have
to
to
come back
run it back
anytime.
soon for sure. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for the invite.
Absolutely. Catch you soon. Thanks, Tommy. Alrighty. Um, let's rip a quick intermission,
We,
Jessup, and then we'll be back. I saw a
we're gonna
comment in the chat.
we're gonna run the
Was
Braille interview if you want to tee that up.
Oh, yes, I do. Absolutely. Thank you for the reminder. So, one of the things that's happening in crypto right now is, like we were just talking about with Tommy, there is more institutional interest than ever before. And payments is really the thing that's kind of taken off, but there are huge plays at hand on the business side that have never really existed before in the blockchain world. And so you're going to see a lot of upcoming content, as well as our season 2 reboot for Monad in the morning, and a ton of fun stuff across the board. You're going to see more and more of the kind of business focused content that gives you a lens as to what the absolutely killer team at Monad Foundation is working on behind the scenes. And we haven't had a ton of coverage with Raj, for example, who's leading payments and stable coins at Monad Foundation. He was formerly the director of crypto product at Visa. He was also on the Portal side. So Monad Foundation acquired Portal, stablecoin infra provider, about a year ago, almost a year ago now. And so there's this huge push behind the scenes for Monad on the payment side. There's a tweet that came out this morning from Dune about some of the slept on volume that's actually happening already in the first 4 months of mainnet on the Monad network. And beyond that, we have Joe Anita Titan running the institutional growth side at Monad Foundation. We have Sauger, who is focused on institutional side in the APAC region, and just a ton of stuff going on across the board for Monad positioning itself to support businesses on chain. Braille is one of these examples, and we recently did a roughly 10-minute interview with them. So just up, roll the clip. This is a first premiere. We love to give a first look, some alpha on Monad in the morning. The show will be back in 10 minutes, and we have a huge announcement upcoming to chat through with MetaMask. So we'll catch you in a few. Shout out the loyal listeners for you. We got a special first time, never before seen clip with the Braille team.
Businesses, help fintechs, marketplaces, other businesses build stablecoin applications. So we're basically bringing stablecoin infrastructure to help businesses, help fintechs, marketplaces, other businesses build stablecoin applications on Monad. So we'll be allowing businesses to issue their own stablecoin. So we have an API that really allows on-ramp, off-ramp custody, all these kind of different portions that a business would need to build on top of stablecoins, and making it really easy. My name is Chase Merlin. I lead product at Braille. So we're a stablecoin infrastructure company. We help businesses issue their own stablecoins.
Why did you guys decide to support Monad?
I mean, a lot of it for us just goes back to demand and like where our customers want to be. And we're really excited. Like we're really focused on kind of like everyday businesses. A lot of these are like fintech marketplaces. These are businesses that are doing a ton of transaction volume today. And so being in an EVM environment that really focuses on like scalability, on high throughput it's super important. And there's not a lot of options for it. And I also think all of it having the familiarity of EVM and the developer experience, which is where a lot of our clients want to be. I think also for us, we knew some of the team, including like, Raj from Portal and some previously, really kind of like a kindred business. And so seeing them join, I think is a really like-minded and help us understand, honestly, the Monad ecosystem a lot better.
How long have you been familiar with Monad ecosystem?
I think for me, like maybe like outside of Braille has been for a longer period of time, maybe like, year and a half. I think when they joined, it helped us see more of, I think, the payments focus, which was there, which is something maybe we didn't think about. I think Monad obviously has a lot of the crypto native stuff going as well, but I think to see also acquiring teams, even with this really deep payments and stablecoin focus, it's a really good fit for us. And we're really trying to find like where these real world businesses going to scale these, payments and applications on chain.
Why is it a strong fit for stablecoins and payments?
I think Monad's a good fit for payments. It starts at the foundational level, really with, again, I think EVM plus scalability obviously is a very strong selling point for payments, especially if you tend to think about these high volume like consumer payments, like you absolutely need that. I think though maybe more like that's just the foundational piece, is to see the ecosystem focused at a foundational level, like investing in other payments companies and building a kind of like a little bit of a network effect with projects. That's what we're seeing a lot with ecosystems today. It's really like to move businesses over, you need like multiple components. You need people like Braille, you need things that are high quality wallets, things like Portal, you need a number of these things in place. And so to see, I think Monad focusing on bringing all these together makes us really want to participate and a lot more excited to see like this is a really long-term vision and at least a key focus for the ecosystem, long term.
What are the most important trends you're seeing in stablecoins right now, and where is real adoption actually happening?
So stablecoin adoption, I think the biggest one or the most well-known one is kind of cross-border payments. It's kind of the example I let off of. If you think about like international wires, or if even like a business try to send money around the world, you can literally go from 3 to 5 days to like minutes, which is a pretty magical experience. And that's a lot where stablecoins have grown. But I think these days I'm starting to see just all sorts of different businesses, like even things like if you think about e-commerce platforms or marketplaces where users are swiping their card, it's settling into a stable coin on the back end for merchants. They're basically running their entire business out of a stable coin, mostly because it's faster and cheaper and it's easier to track on chain, basically, which I think that's really exciting. It's kind of like the promise that we were all kind of here for in the beginning, is like auditable source of truth, and to see that play out. And I'm just seeing all these just real world businesses kind of adopting stable coins, even if they may not even be doing cross-border payments, but it's kind of just running on the back end, kind of as a replacement for like a bank account. Now it's just a stablecoin enabled account.
Once Braille is live on Monad, what does that unlock for developers and businesses that wasn't realistic before?
So I see the ability really to run payment flows at scale on Monad. I've talked about, some of them today, but again, if you think about like a consumer remittance application where we're sending, thousands, millions of transactions like around the world. I think those are things that are really possible now that would really struggle, I think, in other environments. We're excited, like I mentioned, about marketplaces, just even old-fashioned e-commerce kind of businesses that are running on stable coins. We're powering a lot of games these days, which I think would also be, if you think about things like microtransactions, and a lot of these very fast, more like micro, this even moves into agentic also as another area, agentic payments, another area where, high TPS is a big piece. I see it more as like we kind of have a funnel into real world businesses today, but some of the use cases are, especially the higher kind of throughput use cases, or where you need more payments of the stack that Monad has, invested in, are struggling today. I think those are really good candidates to bring to the ecosystem. I found over time with technology is like we're trying to bring the cost of stablecoin issuance down to zero or as low as possible, basically make it so any community, any app can launch its own stablecoin and benefit from the economics. And sometimes you find that people use that kind of thing in a way that you maybe don't even expect, or you kind of see it as you sometimes see it in other areas of use cases. And so we're excited to bring some of the things I think that are working, that maybe like this will be an enabler for, but also just open it up to the community as a kind of open, low cost tool, and all, see what happens.
I guess, could you expand on agentic payments and settling and stuff like that? Or what do you see the future looking like with that?
So for agentic payments, right, what does it look like? There's a lot to figure out, but it feels like agentic payments really start to unlock some of these new payment models. Especially a lot of people have talked about this, but sort of like we're very ad driven today. Sort of payments, I think moving to agentic with these microtransactions, really, you could think of more of a pay for service type model, where I personally think it's exciting getting away like from ads as sort of like the dominant piece on the internet. It's going to be pretty crazy if you think about today, right? Everyone paying for something is like a person with like an identity. We're going to go into a world where it's like literally these agents that are no identity, maybe like not KYC'd. It's like a whole new like kind of problem space to explore. But I think that for us, we're excited to, like, of course, however agents look in the future, they're going to be using stable coins. This is another one, though, where today, like, as agents start to go, I mean, you're going to see massive increases in kind of like volume. Like, this is one where you really need to be focused on scale, like to the nth degree with all of these microtransactions. And so I'm excited to see where it plays out. We're trying to be sort of like the foundational layer and, support these applications that are experimenting with agentic. You make it easy to build stablecoins in these high throughput environments.
What would be your argument for crypto being kind of a foundation for the future?
There's a lot of parts of crypto, right? And a lot of it hasn't been super great. I think, though, what we're seeing is basically crypto as an improvement for the money system. So like an example I like to give is if you ever try to send money kind of like back to another country, or done like an international wire, if you have friends maybe that have sent money back home, maybe to the Philippines or India, or wherever else, like it's pretty expensive, pretty slow process. It's not really a great experience. And I think on-chain crypto through stable coins is really just something that's helping everyday people. You can really send money around the world basically instantly for free, essentially. It's like a very simple thing. You don't even need to know there's stable coins there. That's something I think that's really exciting about crypto, is a lot of this technology will just be in the background. It's like all the businesses, as they adopt it, users may not even know, but they're benefiting from it. So I really believe like over time, all of these, basically all these systems, the way we think about money, will all move on chain, not, mostly just because it's a better way to move value. It's cheaper, it's faster, it's more efficient.
Where do you see Monad, the technology, in like the next 5 to 10 years?
Yeah, where is Monad in 5 years? From a stablecoin point of view, I think the way we're going is like really all businesses will adopt stablecoins as kind of like the medium of exchange, right? I think to some extent, we're still kind of in the pilot phase, or like the early adopter phase. We're going to see banks and these really large businesses. We're going to see, basically all the largest businesses in the world also adopt stablecoins. And so, there's going to be multiple like chain environments there, but I think as Monad continues to scale, like that's sort of like what a success state looks like. It just literally becomes the kind of on-chain platform powering these, like regulated finance at scale, settlement, banks, all these kind of things that are, it's a little more real world stuff, but I feel like that's sort of like the end game for where we're all going here. And again, you absolutely need scalability. I'm also interested to see maybe where privacy enters into the ecosystem in the future. I'd imagine that's probably also, like, again, if you think about super scalable and also like private confidential payments or some support, there is what I'd be like really excited about in a few years. So we're basically bringing stablecoin infrastructure to help businesses, help fintechs, marketplaces.
Hey there, Danny.
Jessup, I did not know that the video was going to end there.
I know, but it was starting over, and I let it hang over a little bit because you were taking your shirt off.
Well, I was. I had my space heater going in the room here, and it is hot. It is hot.
It must be toasty for you to say that.
Yes, it is. It is very toasty. And I also realized, you might have seen, probably the esteemed viewers did not, I looked under my like sweatshirt thing, and I saw that I'm wearing my purple shirt today. So it's hot in here. It's hot, perps on the Purple chain. Purple is live if you have access to the private mainnet, and if you want it, you should probably go hit them up and check it out. Anyhow, I saw a comment come through the chat earlier from none other than Bill Mondays, and so I want to quickly address the bookshelf in my background, which is very much real. And I found this little number, the Book of Inside Information, on my bookshelf, and I was just kind of looking at it. This book is hilarious. It shows like, you know, how to like basically maximize money, health, success, retirement, investments, taxes, fitness, car, travel, education, marriage, home, collecting, shopping.
Is
And so
this
I was like, oh, I got to razz Bill. Oh,
is
is my connection bad?
yeah, you're glitching there a bit. But question I have is this the first time you're opening that book?
Yes. I mean, dude, like I have a Chat GPT subscription. Like this is from the 80s. This is like not even a remotely helpful tool anymore. Like uh actually maybe not. Winning at Office Politics is on this page that I just randomly opened to. Um
I think Bill
Good ways for
is
kids to
winning
earn
at
money.
office politics.
Good ways for kids to earn money. The best jobs for youngsters are small independent businesses that they can start up and run themselves. That kind of sounds like it's good for anybody, especially based on our conversation with Tommy about the fact that everyone should be a builder because you now have the tools. This book is dead, books are dead, but bookshelves are still pretty cool. So I'm going to go put this back as a nice decoration and probably never ever open this again.
Yeah, I mean, at first I kind of thought that Bill going crazy in the chat was just him trying to cover up his Epstein files allegations, but turns out
Oh,
that
I didn't.
he was correct in the fact that you've never read any one of those books back there.
Yeah, but I thought he said my bookshelf wasn't even real, which
Oh,
it is. It's real. That's a real
he said they were
bookshelf.
fake books, so
I,
maybe
I
there
just
is some truth
demonstrated
to
it.
the Bill Mondays and the Epstein files.
See? Yeah. Bill, oh yeah. So Bill's comment in the chat was, those are all fake books behind Danny. He's a fake reader. He keeps being like, oh, did you read Ulysses? And I said, no. And he's like, yeah, me neither. I have it though. So yeah, I mean, on one hand, the books are real. On the other hand, I have not read any of them. Maybe one. So,
Definitely seems like he's hiding something.
yeah. Well, anyhow, I mean, Tommy was a great conversation. It was super fun to have him on. It's just like, you know, a weird time overall. Like it feels very much so uncertain what the future will look like, and on one hand,
Well,
that might be.
I think what's interesting is like we are going to see a lot smaller companies making like we've heard like one man teams doing big things, $100 million businesses and stuff like that because it's possible. You heard meme talk is two guys. Like the things that you can now do as one person or a very very small team is just increasing more and more, and all you have to do is like learn how to deploy these agents, and that's becoming easier. You don't even need a Mac Mini.
Right. Yeah, I mean it's interesting, and I think, you know, one thing that I didn't get to comment on, or get Tommy to comment on, which I think actually would have probably been quite interesting, is um, like the crypto sentiment I think is made a lot worse by the fact that we didn't really get an alt season. And, you know, like past 5 years, a ton of different chains have popped up. You had some chains that were kind of viewed as high potential in 2021 that never, you know, got that second wave in this most recent cycle. And so I think there's just a lot of like uncertainty out there in terms of like, how many chains do we actually need? Like, which chains are going to get usage and adoption? It's pretty clear that the like vibes based bull market of 2021 is probably not going to return. And so now there's this flight to traction and revenue and how many users do you have, whether that's on the chain infrastructure level or whether it's on the app level. And I think it's kind of a new phase for crypto overall. Um, and I personally think Monad is not an ecosystem to sleep on. It's probably a little bit hard to get a clear picture of actually what's going on at the foundation level, at the category labs side of things, but like the core fact remains true that Monad stands alone as a extremely fast blockchain that has really all of the properties that were prevalent in the original ethos for crypto. So you have decentralization and permissionlessness controlled by the people who participate in the network, the stakeholders. There are many chains that do not functionally operate that way. Then you have the performance aspect that Ethereum ecosystem is really trying to get to. Keone's tweet recently, a lot of these problems have already been solved. That is 100% true. And so you can look at the chain landscape and be like, wow, there's a ton of stuff out there. There's hundreds of EVM chains. And it's easy to mid curve Monad and put it in that bucket, I think. But, probably the people that are watching this show, I would imagine, tend to share our belief that Monad really is standing alone in its own camp as a piece of technology. But then there's the adoption side. Then there's like, what is the foundation doing to help bring in businesses and real applications? And we're fighting that battle on all fronts, working around the clock to make it happen. And so, that's what has me particularly excited right now. It's not just one use case or one thread that Monad is targeting, but many in parallel simultaneously with a team of absolute killers. And the noise is at all-time lows, the signal is at all-time highs. We know what we're going after right now, whether it's on the startup app ecosystem side, whether it's on the business side with payments and trading and getting more assets onto the chain. And all the while the tech continues to improve. Category Labs stays shipping, and so there's a lot going on. I think it's easy to mid curve just about anything these days in crypto, but for those who see the writing on the wall, well,
I,
I hope you see it.
I think particularly right now, the sentiment has the like kind of downer sentiment is permeating far beyond just crypto, which is making it feel even worse in crypto itself. Like oil, the price of oil has gone up significantly. We've seen volatility across stocks, commodities. Um, I think that then piles on top of crypto. And so it's like when everything is feeling hard, and the news and the media definitely likes to play up when things are going bad too. So it just kind of adds and makes it feel like, oh, everything is dead right now.
Yeah, I mean it's all clicks. Like
Yeah.
scroll Twitter and try to be happy. Good luck.
Yeah.
Like that's just that's just kind of where we're at right now. And simultaneously, like 5 years ago, crypto was like this mysterious thing to the common person. And now it's just like, oh, that scam thing that I put a couple $1,000s into over the past few years and effectively lost it all. And so, like, I mean, I understand that position wholeheartedly. I've gotten my teeth kicked in many a time in crypto. That's kind of part of it. But the separation between that side of things and what is actually going on in terms of adoption from these major players is a very significant gap. And so I think there's a real risk of people getting kind of like shaken out of the industry, whether you're like more of a community participant, whether you're working in crypto full time. Um, but yeah, I think like the most unfortunate thing would be to turn around and be 10 years from now, 2035, 2036, and be like, oh, I totally was early to crypto, but I wasn't patient enough. It didn't happen on the timeline that I thought it would, and I got shaken out, and the big institutions won again, and I didn't benefit with that. So,
Yeah.
that's where I'm hopeful. That's where I'm quite optimistic. I think it is this weird time where all the energy has really shifted over to AI, and from a trading perspective, like we've gotten pretty rinsed out on meme coins and speculative stuff with no utility or real world value. But there's always something that pops up in bear markets. There's always opportunity out there, and it's probably more competitive than ever now. But there's no point in being anything but optimistic, in my
Uh,
opinion.
on the AI front, how do we feel about Moltbook getting purchased by Meta? That seems like a crazy move.
Yeah, I mean, like, what is this? Threads for AI agents?
Yeah, yeah, right. It
I,
just
don't- I
seems,
don't really know what to think. I'm probably not smart enough to comment on that uh, to be honest. But
but
it
it,
is
it's
interesting.
it's also just crazy though that like that's probably another thing that somebody just thought this is gonna be a dumb idea, and then it's purchased by Meta.
Yeah, yeah.
But
I
what
mean,
so
well,
well, like one of the it's interesting too is like and one of the things that I asked a lot of the people that I interviewed, not just the Braille team, because there was multiple people that I interviewed and talked to, but one reoccurring thing was like the idea of crypto is going to be utilized significantly more for agents and AI agents because like they have like almost the idea that maybe crypto wasn't as meant for humans as much as it was for agents because they're going to be processing all of these transactions. They can read contracts that we can't. I mean, like people are getting tricked all the time because you can't even read your wallet address. You just look for the
yeah,
last three and the first three. um
yeah. I mean, I'm inclined to think that's like true, but also probably an oversimplification. Like, if you can make that argument, like make the same argument for the internet, right? Like, there's probably going to be more, there probably already is more bot activity on the internet than human activity, and
yes.
now this is just going to become way more sophisticated. So I think you could make that same argument. Again, I'm certainly not the expert here. Someone could probably rip this to shreds, but I think you could make that same argument for the internet, that like this is the way that things are trending. Like, it's just going to be agentic activity online. And well, I don't know, one of the interesting things is going to be to like see where we're actually at with this stuff. Like, how many industries does AI actually revolutionize, but beyond like software development in the short term? Is that overstated? Is that understated? Are we going to get to a point later this year or next year where we're like, yes, this is a vision, this is a dream, but like we can't actually realize it yet? I don't know, Jessup. What are we going to do, man?
I don't know, but we got
What's the chat
MetaMask
saying?
on in the green room, so I'm gonna switch it over here.
Bingo. Let's bring on Michael. This is our second time Monad in the morning. Michael, welcome back. This is a big day for sure. We've got a lot to unpack here.
Definitely excited to be here with you guys. What is going
Ooh,
on,
I like.
Monad? What is going on, Monad, in the morning? Let's go. Can you guys hear me okay?
Loud and clear. I think I might be a little bit. My internet might be a little bit slow today, but we will work through it. You know what's not slow today? Monad Network on the MetaMask card. Zero gas for transactions. That is the epitome of fast and easy. These are some pretty huge announcements. I'm super excited to get my hands on the MetaMask card. But for anybody who's been laser focused on the show thus far, let's unpack this announcement for them a bit.
Definitely, definitely. MetaMask and Monad. We natively launched Monad inside of the MetaMask wallet when Monad mainnet went live. And it's just been a journey since then. And just recently, over the past few days, we enabled no network fees when you're using Monad with MetaMask. That's game changing. Whether it's a swap, whether it's sending Monad from one wallet to another wallet, or even connecting to dApps. Using dApps, there are no Monad gas fees. It's all covered by MetaMask. And I think this is a key inflection point for showing people at product level how to make it so it's as easy and frictionless as possible for users to come in. When you're able to transact and you're able to move across the network without having to worry about gas fees, and we're not talking about abstracting gas fees, we're talking about paying for users' gas fees. This is a big difference. There's a lot of dApps out there that say, you no longer have to have a gas token. This is not the concept of not having a gas token. This is the concept of no longer paying for gas as long as you're using Monad and MetaMask, which I think, as a degen, is game changing.
100%. I mean, I think it actually kind of reflects just how early we actually are for crypto as a whole. Like, imagine going on one of these ticketing platforms, for example. You're trying to get a ticket to a concert or a sports game. Like, they will often whack you with like a $30 fee, like a very, very significant fee. And now imagine you're going to see Taylor Swift and you're fired up and you see the tickets and you get a good deal. Maybe you get it for like 150 bucks and you're like, yeah, this is a good deal, but I know I'm gonna get whacked with this transaction fee. It's probably gonna be 20, 30, maybe even $50. You go through the checkout flow and it just tells you, hey, no transaction fee. Just like we're seeing in the wallet UI with MetaMask, like gas fee paid by MetaMask, I think is the exact copy. Like, as a user, that's so exciting. And thankfully, the transaction fees on Monad are not quite as steep as they are on some of these ticketing platforms. But I just kind of drew that parallel in my head recently because I was thinking about
You know how I look at it? The Monad gas fees are astronomically low as it is, but just to take into perspective, let's say you have 100,000 USDC sitting on Monad, and you want to send 100,000 people one USDC. You can do that, and your fees at the end of the day are $0. Isn't that mind blowing? That there's zero friction to you being able to distribute insane amounts of funds with hundreds of thousands of people, and there's literally no fees. I mean, I think that's amazing, especially when it comes to people that have used Ethereum and all these L1s for such a long time. And gas fees are a problem, right? I mean, it gets to the point where it could impact you executing a certain transaction at a certain time of day. Now people on Monad with MetaMask don't have to worry about that. I think it's freaking awesome.
There's a
Yeah.
question that I think is really important. Is from Mirth Mono, how long will the gas fee campaign last? Is it a campaign or is this forever?
Yeah, so this isn't something that is like a 1 week thing. We're trying to make this last as long as possible. And obviously, there are costs that are involved here. It's not like there's a switch that Monad presses and everything is all of a sudden free. This costs a lot of funding in order to get this going. And that's why I think the partnership that Consensus and MetaMask have with the Monad and Monad Foundation, I think this is the most beautiful part about it. It's about changing the space. And this is what I love about Web3. In Web2, everything's behind closed doors. People have proprietary items and things are patented and no one's allowed to look at each other's things. Here, the goal is to scale cryptocurrency as a whole. And I think with MetaMask and Monad doing this sort of campaign and kind of bringing it back to the users and saying, hey, what are some real use cases? And we're going to talk about that shortly with the MetaMask card, but what are some real use cases and how do you reduce as much friction as possible so that someone brand new into crypto doesn't have to worry about random things like gas fees or seed phrases or private keys, like what we've done with abstracting those away as well. So we're getting to the point where you can eliminate as much user friction as possible so that people can actually adapt to everybody that's already here.
I think there's a bigger, thing at play here because as a user, like, say you're already crypto native, you're set up on Monad, you got your MetaMask loaded, like maybe you were a airdrop recipient, and so on a high performance network like Monad, the gas fees are not super prohibitive to transacting like maybe they were on some networks in past years, and so it's kind of like a nice thing for sure. Like no one wants to pay more than they have to for anything. But then there's also this kind of parallel where it's like, what can you do in crypto that you actually can't do anywhere else? And to your point with taking 100 grand and distributing that across 100,000 people, that is actually only possible, to my knowledge, on a blockchain like Monad, and in this case, like no transaction fees. And so, like, who does that impact? Like, really, it impacts like institutions and large financial players who are currently moving on crypto. And so, it's really nice for, I think, a common retail user like myself. For sure, it's a benefit. But then you look at like, okay, well, why are these large institutions moving on crypto? Is it because they, think that decentralization is the future? Maybe, but more practically, it's because they can save money. And that is like purely demonstrated through, this activation here where like, there is no better way to move money globally, especially in size, than public, open source, highly performant blockchains. And then, you need to also trust these systems. You need the decentralization aspect to be able to trust that the thing isn't going to go down when AWS East goes down next. And so I think there's like a broader kind of play here where, for a user, again, nice benefit, but you can also kind of see the writing on the wall as to why blockchain is actually a better system and why these big players are now finally moving on it.
Oh yeah, 1,000%. I think that this is why this is like a big differentiator between centralized institutions and banking infrastructure. This is the only space where let's take that 100,000 USDC on Monad to 100,000 people. Let's take that scenario. On a Sunday night, at 4:30 a.m. globally, you can distribute those funds instantly with no fees based on the current campaign that we're running, right? So banks don't have the ability to do that. You got to wait until it's actually open. Imagine trying to tell a bank that you want to send money to 100,000 people, the amount of time it's going to take, the fees that you're going to have to pay, whether it's international, whether it's a wire transfer, an ACH fee. Maybe you don't have enough money in your bank account to rank as a premier customer, so they take your fees away. All these variables are gone when you're talking about on-chain real use case of why this technology exists. And I think Monad is really at the forefront as a network to be able to pull this off.
Yeah, I'm fired up, and we got a lot to be excited about here today because it's not just the free gas on the network through MetaMask, but it's the card as well, and that is the more recent announcement. It's been look at that thing. That is absolutely gorgeous. So let's unpack the announcement first, and then we can kind of talk about why this is different from some other products that have maybe previously been available on the market.
Definitely.
I, for one, am very excited to get my hands on a card, and I know we're cooking up something behind the scenes with the media team on the Monad Foundation side and some of the folks over at Consensus MetaMask and maybe beyond as well. We're actually going to show some real use cases in a fun and entertaining way with this card. But let's not get ahead of ourselves here. Let's first, unpack what's going on. We got the Monad network on the card. What does this mean?
Yeah, I think some people might be familiar with the MetaMask card, but there's a big difference between the way that MetaMask handles its crypto card and pretty much every other crypto card in the space. The MetaMask card is not a top-up card. It's not a centralized exchange card. It's not a credit card. This is a instant bridge to connect your self-custodied wallet and use your funds instantly in real life anywhere. And you get crypto back on each transaction. There, obviously, the fees are taken care of when it comes to gas costs. And there's a lot of incentives when you sign up for the MetaMask card. We have a couple of different versions. There's the free version that you could sign up for and add to your Apple Pay and your Google Pay and start using IRL instantly. And then there's the metal version, the physical copy that I just showed on screen. And that one gives you additional perks, additional cash back. And I think being able to do this with Monad, where, let's pretend you're a degen and you're trading some meme coins and you happen to 10x on your meme coin. Pretend, right? Let's pretend. And you happen to 10x on your meme coin. Just imagine being able to, in basically a single transaction, swap it to USDC on Monad and be able to use those funds instantly anywhere IRL, instead of having to send it back to a centralized exchange, pay insanely high fees to swap it back to fiat, send it back to your checking account, wait 3 to 5 business days. You could do that over there. We're over here with MetaMask and Monad in the year 2035 using our self-custodied assets instantly IRL. And I think that is really game-changing as well.
100%. It gives me the idea for what would perhaps be the most degenerate video concept we've ever come up with. It would be hilarious to go to a restaurant and while we're at the restaurant, take $5 or $10 or something and try and trade that into an amount that would cover our bill at the restaurant and then instantly pay with the MetaMask card. We should probably do that.
And it's very possible. That's the thing. It's not like it's something that you have to, jump through a million hoops to do. This is something that people can do right now. And I think that's the greatest part, is that one of the biggest points of friction for people coming into crypto is, where can I spend my crypto? What can I do with my crypto? How do I even use it IRL without going through all these hoops and banks and transfers and wait times and fees? And this is the answer. Monad and the MetaMask card. It's literally game changing. And I think people are sleeping on it. Once they tap into it and they see the little Fox logo inside of their Apple Pay and they could tap anywhere and they're using their Monad funds that they just, let's say they traded up to. I mean, that's why we're here, guys, to be able to bridge and make it seamless, to make it so that you don't have to go through all this friction. And the technology that's been built out, I mean, it's taken a long time, but it's been worth the wait. We always want to focus on security infrastructure, being privacy preserving, and Monad follows those same type of base rules, right? It's a core of the network, it's a core of the foundation, and that's why MetaMask and Consensus align so closely with everything that Monad is doing.
Yeah, 100%. We're getting some pretty good questions from the chat, and before I ask any of the questions, for anyone who hasn't been paying attention, we're coming back next week with season 2, Monad in the Morning, in the fully revamped studio in New York City. We're going to do extra spins for everyone who's asking questions this week. I don't have a wheel with me, so we'll be spinning like mad next week for sure. But in the meantime, good question from Celestial Natty in the chat. Is the MetaMask card available globally?
Great question. So we're available in over 30 regions currently. We just launched in the United States about 2 weeks ago. And LATAM, Canada, UK, Europe, it's already rolled out pretty wide at a global scale. We're trying to hit APAC region. We're trying to hit, countries in Africa, Nigeria, all these different types of regions. And it does take a lot of compliance and approval and we have to be very careful when we're rolling it out globally, because the last thing we want is to be able to have all this technology in everyone's hands and some sort of regulation or something stops it dead in its tracks. So we've been making sure that we're rolling this out in the most efficient and the most compliant way possible. But currently it's available in over 30 regions: Canada, US, LATAM, UK, Europe. We really tried to hit like as many as we could. We started off with the UK region for testing, and now we've started to slowly roll that out globally. Hopefully by the end of this year, we will have full global adoption of the card.
Love it. Love it. Another question from Mirth Mono, good one as well, that we can at least touch on, but probably just to kind of tease some of the upcoming content that we have in the pipeline, probably get a more thorough answer to this question in some upcoming content, but I don't want to give away too much there. Mirth Mono asks, why MasterCard? Can you tell us a bit about the conversations with Visa, Amex, MasterCard? What led MetaMask to go with MasterCard?
Yeah, and I'm sure people have seen the MasterCard announcement yesterday. You know, they're really adapting and wanting to open up the doors for DeFi, for Web3. And working with them, they give us access to over 150 million merchants globally. So just because you get the MetaMask card in, let's say, the United States, and you go to a region where the MetaMask card isn't even supported yet, thankfully, because of MasterCard, you can use your funds in that region, even if the card isn't supported. And we're also able to do things like, for example, go to an ATM, pop your MasterCard, your MetaMask card in, and be able to pull out cash right on the spot with no international fees, right? Like these are things that MasterCard has really given us the rails to perform these types of, grand distribution of how many merchants we can work with, how easily people can access their funds. And the most beautiful part about it is that no merchant needs to change anything. The merchants don't even need to know that you're paying with Monad or USDC on crypto or whatever the case is. The beautiful part is it's automatically adopted because of their payment rails and the distribution that they give us to all the merchants globally. So it's been amazing working with them. And this is something that a few years ago I said to myself, like, how would this even be possible, especially to a self-custodied wallet? Because doing it through a centralized exchange is one thing, where you know that the funds are handled and whatever the case is. But the fact that you are your own bank and now you can use your funds anywhere without having to deal with any of those elements in between is amazing. And a big shout out to the MasterCard team for helping us get there.
Huge. Yeah. It's I think this is honestly a sleeper announcement, to be honest. Like, one, awesome that Monad is the first blockchain where this gas sponsorship exists. Like, that is absolutely huge. And then, with this gasless experience plus the ability to literally transact at basically any merchant out there with the card, means that like the vision for a lot of what has been talked about in crypto payments from a forward looking perspective is actually already happening on Monad, and it's basically happening nowhere else in the way that this has been rolled out through MetaMask, MasterCard on Monad. And so that is like super, super exciting. And I think, this is just kind of one of those things where you tune into Monad in the morning, you get a little alpha, you get a little context on, what, in my opinion, is a huge sleeper announcement. And then, maybe 6 months down the road, this is like super widespread and super obvious. And there's a bunch of other ecosystems that have, come on board. But this is something that really is currently unique to Monad, unique to MetaMask. And, it's an awesome experience. And so I could not be more excited to get my hands on some MetaMask metal.
Oh, definitely. And, look, we're all on crypto Twitter, right? And we all see what happens on a daily basis. There's a lot of it that's just like degenerate gambling casino noise. And then there's the actual real infrastructure that's being built out. And I think that what Monad is doing and, how we're both partnering up and kind of bringing MetaMask to that front as well. Like you said, it's like a sleeper, right? Like people are literally sleeping on this. And I think it's a matter of time before they wake up and realize, maybe it's not about necessarily trying to 100x on something, because that doesn't happen for 99% of people. Maybe it's about actually understanding the value of holding your funds on Monad, being able to earn, being able to use those funds, being able to transact without fees, and really understanding what you can do with your crypto instead of just hoping for 100x, right? Like, let's really shift the narrative and go to real use cases. I think a lot of people get onboarded into crypto in two different ways. One of them is a friend or a family member saying, yo, we're going to 100x on this coin, we're going to 100x on this NFT, put some money in, and you don't even understand what you're buying or what you're doing. And then there's the other route, which is, hey, this is what the technology is. This is how you can debank yourself. And this is how you can infinitely get a lot more than traditional Web 2 archaic infrastructure that we've all been grown up and told this is the way that money works. Well, obviously that's not true. And I think that we're really changing the game with Monad to make sure that that's out there as publicly as possible. So it's just a matter of time before that ball continues rolling and people wake up to what's happening.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. And I mean, like, we as, I think, crypto natives, like, if you've been around like 5 or like even 10 years, we're kind of conditioned to the climate that crypto created, where these 100x's were like kind of attainable, like at least conceptually. Like, you would see it on the timeline and be like, oh, crypto is the only place that you can do this. You can hit this 100x overnight and just revolutionize your financial situation. And that was obviously easier 5-6 years ago than it is now. And so I think, you have a lot of people in crypto who may have hit like 100x, or maybe a smaller multiple of that, who have been kind of pilled on this dream of like, if I stick around long enough I might be able to. And sure, maybe that's true as well, but there's also like a longer term game at play here, and it is quite clear that crypto is in a very different spot than it was 5 years ago. I think most people would say, like, most crypto natives would probably say like, oh, crypto's in a worse spot now than it was 5 years ago. I think that couldn't be further from the truth. It's just a lot of kind of short-term noise when you're playing these short-term games. And
Yeah,
um,
yeah.
I know a
Most
guy
of the
who,
people, most of the people that say that are the ones that they're just looking at their own bags, right? Like they don't look outside the box. So sorry to cut you off. Go ahead. Yeah.
no, I was just gonna say, I know a guy who, wanted to invest in Apple. I want to say in like maybe the early '90s. So it wasn't like they were public and all that jazz. And I think his wife ultimately talked him out of it, because
Oh
of
my,
like short-term conditions, like, oh,
you're right.
these computer things aren't going to be, like, it's kind of a fad, it's like a bit overhyped, like, let's park this in some long-term safer investment vehicles. Like, we don't know, like, this Apple computers thing,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
is this
Park it
really
in the
it?
newspapers real quick.
Right, exactly. And so, like, I think effectively we have a similar thing playing out in crypto right now, where it's like, okay, yeah, this stuff was in the spotlight in 2021 and it seems like there's something here, but this stuff is probably way overvalued, way overhyped. Like, AI is the new thing. Is crypto actually going to get used? And on a short-term time horizon, like, yeah, maybe those questions kind of make sense, but look at the long term, like, kind of zoom out a bit and see just how much adoption crypto's gotten over the past 5 years. And sure, maybe that's not reflected in every altcoin's price or value, but like, that doesn't mean that there isn't a massive paradigm shift underfoot right now. And so, I mean, I just keep shouting this from the rafters, because it's something that I personally believe. It's like, this is why I'm willing to show up 24/7, 365. And I just hope a bunch of people are coming along with me. I
Well,
know
look,
you
to
are,
that
Michael.
point. No, I agree. Like, to that point, it's like once you actually are in Web3, you're in crypto, you're in blockchain, you're in the space. If you actually understand what's happening, you can't mentally ever go back to Web 2. This is just a clear difference between people that are here just to make money and leave, and then people that are here to actually build out the future of what finance should be. The future of what finance has been basically the opposite, the antithesis of for decades that we've been using it with traditional banks and systems. So I ain't going nowhere. I know you're not going nowhere. I know Monad and MetaMask are definitely not going anywhere. So this is literally just the beginning, even though we're both shipping at 1,000 miles an hour. This is nothing compared to what's coming. I'm so freaking excited for it.
Me too, for sure. I think the obvious question that's probably in a lot of people's minds, and something that we'll probably want to clip out from this stream and blast it out there is like, okay, I want to get a MetaMask card. What do I do?
Super easy. Just install MetaMask on your phone, and right on the main screen, you'll see the card icon if you're in an eligible region. You could sign up for the virtual card, you could sign up for the metal card. We really tried to streamline the entire process. So it's all done now natively directly inside of the MetaMask app.
Boom. That's
Boom.
like the easiest clip of all time. It's like 10 seconds. Download MetaMask, get booted up, get your card, and you can, basically forego the entire banking system. So there you have
There
it.
you go. Debank yourself.
Debank yourself. Come join us on the light side. I'm seeing it's already clipped in the chat. Shout out Monkey Duffy 957.
Let's
Appreciate
go.
you. This is awesome. I'm super excited for what we've got coming down the pipeline content wise. No pun intended, as this channel is also called the pipeline, but literally the pipeline on the pipeline. We got a lot in store here, but huge announcements today. Gasless transactions on Monad, courtesy of MetaMask, and using Monad in the real world to pay for whatever you like to pay for with a card, a nice MasterCard with a fox on it, by the way. Like, imagine going to a restaurant with your like normie friends and you pull out the fox card. It's like, that's gonna get some
Oh,
attention for sure.
every single time, and the great part about it is it's not like a plastic card. This is like a thick metal card. So like when you hand it to people, they're like, "What is that?" Actually, there's been some content that we've been creating. There's going to be a couple of videos, but we go to different places and we say, when the bill comes, we say, "Do you accept crypto?" And they say no, and we're like, "Go ahead and try it." And we hand them the MetaMask card. Obviously, it confirms right on the spot, and they're like, "Wait a second, what is that?" And I think that's the key to onboarding. Is like people waking up to like what exactly you're handing to them, or understanding and having some questions about, what exactly is the difference between the MetaMask card and a traditional credit card. And trust me, there are tons of differences, all favorable to the user, not the bank. That's the most important aspect there. But it's amazing the amount of content you can create just by people that don't even know this technology exists. And when you use it the first time and it actually goes through, makes the payment, you walk out with the receipt, it's such a different feeling because you did it with a completely new system that you have full control of the assets over. That's the best feeling in the world.
It's absolutely brilliant. Candidly, I've been waiting for this for years now, and so I gotta open up my mobile MetaMask app and get going with a metal card. I'm super excited. Michael, appreciate you joining today as always, and a half hour early nonetheless. Appreciate your patience on the scheduling side of things. We will have to run this back pretty soon, and we've already given away the alpha, but we've got some pretty awesome collaborative content upcoming. So super excited about this and appreciate you joining today.
You guys are legends. Thank you again. And until the next one, there's going to be even more alpha. We're going to both keep on shipping at 1,000 miles an hour. Like I said, always great to be on the show. And until next time.
Love it. Love it. Thanks for joining again, Michael. Have a great rest of your day. And have fun buying stuff on the MetaMask card. I will as well. Really looking forward to it.
All day, baby. All day. Let's go.
All day. Love it. Love it. All right, Jessup, this was Monad in the Morning. Truly our final episode of season 1.999 repeating. This is it. There is no more season 1. There is no more books in the background. Next week, we're in the studio with Jessup. We've got the matte black background and
I took a
big
photo
reveal.
that I might leak. We'll see.
We'll see. Hey, there you go. Nacho says history in the making. I am inclined to agree. If you are with us, thank you for being with us. This is episode 51, perhaps?
51.
In the ballpark, at least.
No, it's 51.
51. 52 is the first episode of season 2. And technically, that's a full year of
I was just going to say,
52 weeks. So this is opportune. Couldn't have drawn it up like this. Yes, I am sure from Saad. This is 1.999 repeating. Next week, we've got spins. We owe the chat some spins. We're going to be having fun.
Do you want to say?
I'm leaking the guest.
Okay,
I'm leaking the guest.
Say.
Mind reader. Next week, in person from the New York studio, we will be live. First episode of season 2 with special guest James Hunsaker, co-founder of Monad, CEO, CTO over at Category Labs. Those guys have been, guys and girls, Category Labs has been shipping. So we have a lot to cover. We're going to bring James on. I'm super pumped for it. I hope you are too. We'll be spinning. We'll be hanging out. There has never been a better time to get involved with Monad. We are shipping on all fronts and don't expect that to change at all. Appreciate all the listeners who have tuned in throughout season 1 and appreciate you, Jessup, as well for cooking on this big studio upgrade that we're going to be revealing pretty soon. So lots to look forward to. Maybe there will be Pina Coladas Ninja X. That sounds like a pretty good idea. And maybe we'll get James to enjoy Pina Colada with us in the morning.
I'm going to bring him some butterfly PET because I know how much he likes that.
I love it. Alrighty, thank you everyone for tuning in today. Bunch of good guests, bunch of exciting announcements. If you're clipping, tag us. We'll be spinning next week. Until then, peace out. This is Monad.
Where do you see Monad in the next 5 to 10 years?
Yeah, where is Monad in 5 years?
It's a tough question.
It really depends on where they want to go. I mean, we're so early in the space that the Monad team is a killer team. They could take it wherever they want to take it.
From a stablecoin point of view, I think the way we're going is like all businesses will adopt stablecoins as kind of like, medium of exchange, right? I think Monad continues to scale. Like that's sort of like what a success state looks like. It just literally becomes the kind of on-chain platform powering these regulated finance at scale.
And I think if the team continues to deliver and facilitate these relationships like they have with our team and other stablecoins in the space as well, I don't see why they can't be a top competitor.
It takes time to attract builders. It takes time to get the app that creates revenue for you and puts you, at a big league. I feel like the positioning is great. We're seeing Ethereum try to scale, so I'm expecting Monad to fill in that spot of a fast, reliable, decentralized EVM chain.
The compatibility, the scalability, speed, I think it's going to be bigger than Ethereum. Monad could be the best layer 1 foundation I think we see in the next 10 years. Yeah.